Welcome in to Spotlight on Kansas City Sports. You're watching us on Sports TV Plus. Gerald Bentley. This week I'm joined by Keegan Russell from the KC Sports Authorities. Keegan, thanks for stepping in. And
Always appreciate it.
Chris, the playmaker Stimpson, bringing you home on Hot 103 Jams. And Chris, to paraphrase our friend, the City Cinderella, JT, Sporting's not running out. They're in trouble. It was a rough start. We have kind of a tale of two cities. We got a couple of positive stories, one in the middle, and one that's just not looking too good so far. So I'll ask Keegan, where do you want to start out, Keegan? You want to start with the Jayhawks, with Sporting, with the Chiefs, the Royals?
Shoot, I feel like, hey, baseball's on the horizon. We got to start with opening day.
You want to
And
start
that's
with
just,
opening day? Sure. Yeah,
I don't know. By the time this
absolutely.
airs, I mean we'll be almost to opening day here. And
We'll be there.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
what a good
yeah,
time of year! You got March Madness going through. You've got the Masters coming up.
yeah.
You've got NBA playoffs coming up. Soccer just got started back up. You've got baseball on the horizon. Like this, there's so much going on right now, which is my favorite time of the year for sports. But I'm always
Yeah.
excited for when baseball season comes around.
Well, absolutely. The Royals are kicking it off. They're playing my hometown team, the Cleveland Guardians, opening up the season, trying to have back-to-back playoff appearances, which is something rare for the Royals
Yeah.
franchise. And here, let me just ask you guys, how do Keegan, will start out with you since you made the pick to start with the Royals. How do you feel this season's going to end? The way too early prediction. Where do you see
Sure.
it ending?
Um, I th- I feel really good about this being a team that comes down to the final week of the season competing for the AL division and
Hmm.
honestly competing for a top three finish in the AL as a whole. I think this team gets above 86.5 wins this year. I know a lot of over-unders have it like
See
82 and a
that?
half. I've got about 88 to 90. I think 88 can win this division. It's a tough division again this year, but I think the Royals top to bottom, their roster cohesion coming into this year looks really good. I think they added the right pieces they needed. They're getting
Hmm.
everybody else back, and as long as that pitching staff, even if they're not better this year, if they can be about break even or even just slightly worse, the additions that they have in the bullpen, this team should be pretty solid. And I think it's very fair to have the expectation on this team this year from the fan base that this is a divisional champ grouping here. So I think that's the fair expectation I have this year. I think playoffs again as well, and hopefully just a deeper finish in October.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a lot better, especially looking at the division. The Royals were the most aggressive. I mean,
Mhm.
TV money's been in flux for Major League Baseball in general, and supposedly that's been holding back the spending. But the Royals were really the only team in the division that spent any money. And I like the moves that they made. Carlos Estevez, I think, is a big addition. We get a full year of Lucas Ursag. We got Michael Lorenzen back. And I think Johnathan India may be the key to
Yes.
driving everything offensively because we had, if you take everybody that batted leadoff, and the only guy who was even remotely decent at it was Michael Massey, put them all together, it was statistically one of the five worst leadoff hitters in baseball modern history. And that's with Bobby Witt Jr. having one of the best seasons in baseball history as the two hitter.
Yeah.
Johnathan India just does what he does and has a good on base percentage. It's a massive improvement. And then, Chris, we got Lucas Ursag and you got the Phillies closer, Carlos Estevez. So the bullpen shouldn't be burning games. I feel really good about the Royals going forward.
And I like the Ursay comparison because it makes me think of Cole Reagans when they picked him up in that
Hmm.
trade during the middle of the season and how he came through for the next following season for the full season. So now I'll be interested to see what Ursay can do with the full season with the Royals now. And to take it a step further, we're talking about the AL Central. Look what's happening in the AL East now with what's happening with the Yankees now with Garrett Cole
Yeah,
situation. And
out
who's
for
the
the
other
year.
starter? Luis Hill, I think, is
Luis
also
Gil.
injured
Yep.
right now. Yeah. So this is bigger than the AL Central, because if they make the playoffs, these are some of the other teams they're going to have to face, and that's going to be a dogfight throughout their whole season in AL East. So let them beat themselves up. Kansas City, I believe, will only have to worry about Detroit and Cleveland. I feel like they should worry about Minnesota, but I think Minnesota is more worried about trying to sell this team and trying to win right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going
they're
on up
spending
there.
nothing.
Nothing. And White Sox, I don't know what they planning on. Only thing your boy Getz could say is they're going to win more games this year than last year. I mean, that should be a given, right? You can't get no worse than what happened last year.
You had one of the worst seasons in baseball history. My God, I hope you can win more games.
Hard to replicate that.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
the American League's
that year.
completely
I
wide
was
open.
I'm old enough to remember the year when the Orioles lost 20 or 30 games at the beginning of their season. So I remember that. So that's pretty bad when that makes that look tame. So yeah, but it should be a good year for the Royals. Yeah.
Chris Getz may be a worse GM than he was a hitter, but I don't know if I don't know if he has
I don't know if that's
a
saying
lot
much.
of control. I mean, that's a historically cheap team, and they're begging for a new stadium too, because I don't know how familiar you guys are with Chicago, but there's a big difference in people's love for, we'll call it Comiskey, versus Wrigley. People love Wrigley almost universally. They hate guaranteed rate field, Comiskey Park. I mean, it is not a super popular venue. So I don't know what the White Sox are doing, but keep in mind the reason why Tampa Bay Stadium was even built was because the White Sox, the last time they were begging for a new stadium, got almost to the verge of moving to Tampa. And that's why they built the Tropicana Field, was to move the White Sox there. So they're open to doing some crazy stuff. And I don't think winning's on their agenda this year. Well, the Royals, what Royal are you most excited to see? I'm pushing for, it's close, Johnathan India, and I think a healthy Michael Massey can be a huge addition to the team because he can hit. He's a second baseman who can bang out 20 home runs if he stays healthy, or move to the outfield. And, anybody can play left field. He should be okay out there. Keegan, who are you looking forward to as the two drivers for the Royals?
Yeah, that addition of Johnathan India just does so much for this 1 through 9 lineup. Not only does it take pressure off Bobby, I think it takes a lot of pressure off of Salvi and Vinny right behind them. Chris and I talked about in our episode this week, but one he's got circled is Michael Garcia to have an even better season. I mean, he's already looked pretty good all across the field, struggled in the leadoff role this last year, but you move him down the lineup now because of a guy like Johnathan India. You're telling me you're not excited to see Garcia on the base paths with India and Bobby coming up behind him.
Sure.
That's just a whole different dynamic. So I think he's poised for a big year. I agree with you on Massey again. Just the addition of India takes so much pressure off of those guys that are in that 5 through 9 spot. But to me, I'm still going to circle MJ Melendez. He's the one that I think the fan base as a whole still needs to see it done this year. And whatever you want to say about his little tweak at the plate with his stance, he's a guy that also could be in position to have a good year because there's no competition in the outfield right now. You've got two corner outfielders that both need to have a good season. And there's really no one, banging on the door behind them to take their spot necessarily, which is why we've seen Massey and Indian left a bit. But I think MJ could have a really good season. I'm not going to say he's an X factor, but I think he could be the difference maker late in the season. If he gets hot the second half of the season with the rest of this group we've already got, that just deepens things so much more. And if he's cranking out 20 to 25 homers this year, even just batting 230, I'll take that as a win. So I think Melendez is the guy I'm circling on the player side, position player side, to hopefully have a big impact. So I think those other guys we already mentioned, you expect them to have that impact, and they're going to.
I mean, Chris, if MJ just, like you said, Keegan, if he just makes that incremental change, he doesn't have to be the guy who led the minors in home runs. Doesn't. He finished last year 206, 17 home runs, 44 RBIs, and 85 hits. If he can get to 100 hits, 230, and 23 home runs, you have a guy who is an above league average outfielder.
Yep.
Anything above that is amazing. And yeah, that lights up the whole offense.
And what I would like to see from MJ this year is to start off good. Like, it seems like he has
Yes.
great finishes. Let's see it right now in March, April, May. That's what I want to see. Get off to that good start. And I think that will really help benefit him throughout the whole season. Because you get off to a good start, I'm sure that'll help confidence-wise. Like, okay, I got it now. And then I'm sure they can carry it on until after the spring break. But it seems like he's missed after All-Star break. I need him to be before the All-Star break. So that's what I want from MJ. But to answer your question earlier, Gerald, for me, I'm still looking at Vinny just because of, he finished the year hurt. I think that,
Stay healthy.
A healthy Vinny, if we can get that for the full season this year, I think he's really going to break out. Not saying he hasn't broken out before, but I can really see him breaking out this season, coming out and taking up that big step, especially with Bobby taking that big step. So I would like to see that from Vinny this year. But I'm with you on MJ. I'm with you on that. And I'm also with Urseg. I still want to see what he does now with a full season with the Royals to see what he can do. If he's got that real all-star potential that he's got.
Watch out for Vinny to finish top 3 in RBIs this year. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
I know he was close. Yeah. I mean, we would have had 3 guys with 100+ last year if he didn't get hurt. But I think, again, that addition of Indy at the top, Vinny could have a monster season without even hitting 30 home runs.
Keegan, I saw a stat this morning on MLB Network that Vinny didn't even have a steal last year. That's crazy to think about. As much as the Royals like to win, he didn't even get like one steal, even like a cheap. Oh, we just gonna let you get it anyway because
the Billy Butler style.
He didn't even get one of those. That's crazy.
Well, here, you want a crazy stat for Vinny? Show you the value and the impact he has. Not on the base paths, but banging the ball home. The day Vinny went out with his thumb injury, the Royals were 5th in the league in scoring. So the offense was way above average.
Yep, they were
By the time
him and Bobby were the number 2 duo in baseball behind Soto and Judge.
Time the season ended, they dropped to 13th. So the offense changed that dramatically. That was the difference between Vinny not being in the lineup and Yuli. And Yuli, for being 45, whatever. I mean, whatever age we want to say he is, because I don't think anyone really knows for sure, but at least 42. Yuli did okay, but it's that huge drop off from a potential all-star first baseman to a slightly below replacement level. So, I mean, a lot of the problems can probably be fixed just by staying healthy.
Yeah.
And again, India being that lineup takes pressure off those guys behind them too. So I think we're going to have a very fun offensive season where the Royals finish top 5 in the AL, maybe top 5 in baseball overall. They've got the potential for that this year for sure.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Looking good. Let's go over then to another team that is talking about what's coming up next year. That's going to be KU. It was a disappointing season for KU, not a abject disaster, because KU is burdened by the challenge of great expectations. KU and Missouri basically finished the same. Missouri, it's talked about as this amazing turnaround. KU, it's an utter disaster. The truth is somewhere in the middle for both teams because, here, to be fair, Dennis Gates created the unmitigated disaster last year, so he just pulled himself back from the brink this year. And Bill Self, this has been kind of what we've been looking at for a couple of years. Right after the game where they lost to Arkansas, here's Bill Self talking about the loss.
I thought it was, I thought it was a good basketball game if you're a fan. I thought we tried really hard, and the zone kind of gave us a chance there in the second half, but we got off to terrible starts to start the game and to start the second half, and then I don't know what it was. We finished the game on up 3 with 3.5, something like that, and 3 out of 4 possessions we turned it over. So, we did a lot of the damage ourselves, but their length bothered us all night long. We had open passes and couldn't pass over them, and they got steals or deflections off of plays that could potentially be layups for us. But we did fight hard, and of course AJ had probably his best game of the season. I thought he was terrific, and Zeke was great throughout. So disappointing, but certainly I thought we gave a great effort.
Now, Keegan, I know you guys, you and Chris, went over the KU season and looked forward to what we're going to see next year. What's your breakdown? I know you guys spent a lot of time talking about the Jayhawks. Was this an unmitigated disaster? Is it time for major changes? Has the game passed Bill Self by, or are we all kind of overreacting?
I think this season, in regards to KU standards, from the fan base, 100% disaster. I mean, that was the worst season KU's had in nearly 25 years, since about 2000. One of the 3 worst seasons. But this is 2 years in a row now of watching this team fizzle out, and the centerpiece being Hunter Dickinson, KJ Adams, DeJuan. Yeah, we've gone back and forth on a lot. I don't think it's that the game has passed by Bill. I think the game has changed a lot in the last several years. The NIL era, the portal has made competition different. Bill has not really adjusted his play style to the modern era of college basketball quick enough. Not to say that the way he plays can't be successful, but when you've got a 7'2" center who's one of the most talented offensive big men this team's ever had, but literally is a negative in every other aspect of the game, and you're centering your team around that with the floor spacer or lack thereof with KJ and DeJuan next to him. I mean, this is the result you should expect. This team wasn't going anywhere. About 3 weeks in the season, the whole fan base knew exactly how the season was going to end. You were going to go up against a team in March that was more athletic and more gifted talent-wise, and they were going to put it to you. Now, give them credit. Bill Self did something you see him maybe do 3 times in his career, which is go to the zone and have it be effective. And, maybe had KJ not popped his Achilles there at the end, maybe they stood a chance. But as soon as KJ went down, I mean, I think everybody knew that game was over. And even if they did win, there was no way they were going to do anything against St. John's. Just, again, roster combination was a disaster. So the big focus, I've been saying it for weeks. I think as much as Bill loves these guys individually, and that's what I keep saying, individually talented players, collective group, completely awful. It's like mixing barbecue sauce with chocolate syrup and peanut butter and all these things that individually are great. You put them together, you're like, what the heck? This is disgusting. I don't like it. And that's what this roster was. That's what this team was. So I think he's excited to turn the page and look forward to, the best recruit he's ever had. And that's saying a lot because Andrew Wiggins is definitely up there, but I think it's all full steam ahead. Darren Peterson off season. He's got a lot of positions to fill. A lot of potential turnover. There's going to be some questions on the guys that are potential to come back and who they could go get in the portal. But I think if anything, the fan base is glad this season's over. We've moved on. I think Bill is really ready to forget the last 2 years and go. I know he's been saying this for 2 off seasons now, that's full steam ahead, but I really do think that he's just salivating thinking about building a roster around Darren Peterson next year. And I think we're going to see a massive, massive switch back to traditional Kansas standards of being a 1 or 2 seed. Big 12's tough. I don't know if they win a Big 12 championship next year. I mean, Houston is always good, but next year's going to be very different. And I am super pumped that it's over, and I'm looking forward to the next several weeks of talking KU off season as everyone tries to throw their input on how to build the perfect roster around Darren Peterson.
Well, Chris, I mean, we saw that, hey, we added all these pieces and we got guys who can shoot. This is going to be different. But Bill even said it in that clip that was AJ Store's best game. That wasn't because AJ Store was out there throwing out bricks all season. It was his best game. And maybe his second best game was the Big 12 tournament win against Central Florida. It was his best game because it was the first time that he was on the court for a lengthy period of time. So do you think maybe they just need a general manager, because they seem like they're just signing these guys and it's pieces that don't really fit together? Because if you were expecting AJ Store to come in and be a lockdown defensive player, you didn't watch him play before. That's not him. It's not what he does.
You know what's weird about all this is I thought Bill Self would be perfect for the NIL era because he was getting NIL dudes back in the day. When you think about Andrew Wiggins, when you think about Joel Embiid, right. Hey, I'm a K-Stater, so I know all about them type of deals. I don't know how Michael Beasley just happened to be in Manhattan, but on another thing. But that's what I mean. Like with Bill Self, I thought this would be perfect for him, and so I think it's going to be tough for him. I think what Bill also need to realize, man, the Big 12 is going to be tougher next year. So the Darren Peterson guy better be on point because Houston's coming back. You see what BYU is doing. They about to build an NBA program, it looks like, over there.
Yep.
You know Arizona's still going to come through tough. Think even the teams that didn't do good, Arizona State with a good coach that should be better than what they are. You still got
Baylor.
always compete. Baylor feel like they need to come back. You think Jerome Tang is going to have to coach for his job next year? You're going to have to look at – going to be so many factors in the Big 12 next year, and KU definitely don't want to lose that slide. Now, one thing I also thought about too at KU is I wonder, like, the over-dependence maybe on some of the names that they brought in transfer-wise. Think of the names on those players because Hunter Dickinson came from Michigan, AJ Storr came from UConn. Maybe they fell in love with the names. You know, Zeke Meyer, of course, he came back and did what
he's local.
Yeah. But I think
he was the best of them.
Better recruiting is going to have to come with Bill. I hate to say better coaching, but this isn't the KU that I'm used to. I'm not.
It's not Bill self-coaching that we're used to either.
As a K-Stater, I shouldn't be sympathetic towards what's going on in Lawrence. You know what I mean? But there were some games I felt sorry. Like, I can't believe this is the K-State that I'm not the K-State, but the KU I'm seeing. It's just
it's very rare for him to get out-coached, and Bill got out-coached a lot this year. I even think back to the Baylor game. Absolutely crushing Baylor for the first 20, 25 minutes. And then last 15 minutes, just Scott Drew was running circles around, which is funny because we always joke as KU fans that in those matchups, Bill usually gets the better of Scott Drew. And the last couple of times, it has not been the case. So, yeah, coaching, I'm back and forth on it. Was it the coaching? Was it the execution of players? I think obviously it's a blend of the two. But when you don't have trust or confidence in your team to execute to the level that you need it to, what adjustments can you really make? Like, who are you gonna pull AJ off the bench? No, he's been crap all season except for 2 games. You're gonna throw Rylan Griffin out there. Well, the guy can't freaking hit a 3 for his life and is scared.
And that's all he can do.
What do you do? So what do? You really didn't have any options. So again, the season ended the way you knew it was gonna go. I think that core being done of those 3, Bill's going to be primed to bounce back. And I mean, I agree with you, Chris, with the Big 12. I think not only with everything you just said, but watching what the SEC did this year. I mean, the Big 12 has been the basketball conference for the last 10 years or so. And it's not the case currently. No. So I think the Big 12 as a whole will be super hungry to really fight back. And in the NIL era, I think Bill got away from what he does best, which is recruit guys that play hard and have a winning attitude. And no offense to Hunter Dickinson and AJ Storr, but those are 2 of the biggest losers I've ever seen in a Kansas uniform. Both have stuffed the stat sheet in their time, but none of them have won anything significant. AJ Storr's been on 6 teams in 6 years. I think he's super uber talented, gifted athlete, but did not have a winning mindset. He had AJ Storr mindset. Hunter Dickinson, stat stuffer at Michigan, never really. He had 1 decently good winning season. Doesn't know how to make a winning play. So you get rid of all that this year. I think Bill's going to get back to recruiting guys that play hard. The Kevin McCullough types in the transfer portal, guy that you can trust to go both sides of the ball, play hard for the name on the front of the jersey, collect the bag along the way, of course, but guys that are going to get back to playing hard. I think Darren Peterson really is going to be key because we've had a non-scoring point guard for 3 straight years. And if you look back at every team Bill Self has had, his teams that struggle have a point guard that slows the game down and can't get a shot up or look to score. You bring in a guy to complement Darren Peterson this year who can attack and score from all 3 levels. I think we're poised for some serious comeback next year, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's crazy you say that because first thing that came to my head is Devontae Grahams and the Frank Mason Juniors and Sharon
all guys
Collins.
That could get to the paint, score at the rim, and shoot.
Yeah,
and look to score.
Sharon Collins capturing the Missouri State high school title for the Oak Park Northmen.
Yeah. As
a head coach. So, I mean, scoring point guard is important. Hey, I wanted to play this clip too, because I think this kind of ties together everything we're talking about. This is Bill Self talking about KJ Adams, who, man, say what you will about the guy. He is a hardworking player, an amazing athlete, and I believe he bleeds blue and crimson. I mean, he just does. 100%. But maybe that was part of the problem. Here's Bill.
And I don't know exactly how much time was left, but he and Juan, more so than anybody because they've been here the longest with me. But, that's 10 years of spending most of every day with them. They're like sons to me. And it's one thing to lose the game, but to see him potentially lose a year on top of the game, that's a pretty big blow because you can say what you want to about those two kids. They're winners and they compete every day, and it's just disappointing to have anybody go out that way.
So that kind of hit home for me because the part where he said spent every day with them for like 10 years. This is a different era. That's when you were recruiting from high school. Mm-hmm. And they're both here. I think they're both in year 6.
Yeah, so DeJuan 6 years, KJ
totally,
5 years.
Yeah, totally different world. And they're like sons to me. I believe he means that because it's a different era. That's when you built relationships. That's when you knew all the players' families. That's when you got somebody to come to the school because it's a great school. Look at the facilities. Look at her reputation. Different world now. I mean, you're reloading your team every year. There's not 10-year relationships anymore. And it had to be really, really hard for him to say, oh, man, the problem's these two guys. You develop a myopia, nearsightedness. It's a management phrase.
I think fans believe that Bill Self knows that. Not saying that they're he thinks they're a problem, but I think Bill Self knew the difficulty it was going to be to win the way he wants to. But he's also not. I mean, again, DeJuan and KJ, are two of the hardest playing guys KU's had in a long time, but they're true role players. They can't be elevated to being your star players and win in this day and age of college basketball. So I think, he didn't say it. Bill Self is known for saying things without saying them. And I think he kind of said there, say what you want about the two of them because they all hear it. He's like, but you're not going to find anybody that represents this program better. And I think that's him saying, hey, I understand these guys had limitations, but I'll still go to battle with them every single day. And I totally get it. But both things can be true. They could be the hardest fighting players on the team and still their ceiling not be high enough to be a successful team in March, which, at the end of the day, I know Calipari says, his job is not to win in March. His job's to get guys to the NBA. But your job as a sports franchise in college basketball, college football, whatever the sport is to win a championship at the end of the year. And your job as the coach is to put that team together and develop them into that. So I think both those guys, they have a national championship between the two of them. Absolutely sucks for KJ to go out the way he did. That's just so freaking brutal. Yeah, he might not even get a chance to do basketball for another year. He might not ever play again, depending on how long it takes him to recover and what opportunities come down the stretch. And even for DeJuan to see him have to go out the way he did, it sucks as a fan. But I think if you take the emotion aside from a basketball standpoint, the team is going to look so much different when they have guys that can add more value than just work hard and represent. Like, again, those two guys individually, every coach in America would want DeJuan Harris as a point guard. Every coach in America would want a KJ Adams on their team. But very few coaches say, hey, let's design our entire starting five around two guys that can't shoot or score consistently, but are really good defenders, and we'll figure it out. And so I think, the culmination of that alongside an immobile Hunter Dickinson, who did play very well down the stretch, completely disappeared in the second half of that game. But just that trio, Bill Self, I think he's excited to move forward. Individually speaking, sad for those guys, but I think from the Kansas brand as a whole, I think he's pumped to retool and get back to what he's used to doing, for sure.
I agree. Well, now let's move over to Children's Mercy Park. You can see the stadium behind me. That's a shot taken before halftime, about 5 minutes before halftime of the game last Saturday. And the fact that you can clearly read the offset sporting in the picture, that's bad. And
just like the season,
really kind of hit me. Really kind of hit me because right when I took that picture, they played a commercial for the MLS All-Star game on the Jumbotron, which featured Dochi as the spokesperson for the MLS All-Star game. And it just struck me that they really should have had the public address announcer come on and say, quiet on the set, please. Rolling anxiety in 3, 2. And here's Peter talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to keep facing them. You can't shy away from them. We'll spend this afternoon, we'll spend some time looking at video on some of those situations that did occur, but also some other things. It's not just the goal itself, it's how it leads to it. It's how you get there. It's not like, hey, one guy got beat and now all of a sudden this happened. It's never just that. It's a series of other situations that we have to get better at.
Got to get better at it because, sorry, sports tape, you only get one take. And it's not coming together here for Sporting. I don't know, Chris, we're at most of the games. Do you see it coming together, or is this just paying the price like teams do in the NFL? You ran your salary cap up, your roster, a good roster, all got old at the same time, and now you have to reload on the fly, and this is what you get.
Yeah, but at some point it's either we reloading and we rebuilding, or we trying to win, but it can't be both. At some point you have to acknowledge we're not good enough. We need to fully rebuild and just put the young players out there and see what can happen. At some point that's just got to happen. When you're trying to run the same
Can't get any worse.
It can't get any, and this is what we were saying last year. This is what we were saying last season when they lost all those games at the beginning. Like, once the young players started getting, they started looking better, even though they weren't winning. But at least you want to see that. But we're talking about multiple goals. Like the whole season, they let in multiple goals in all the games. It feels like they're not losing 1-0, or they're not losing like, oh, we gave up a pin or on goal. Like, they're getting beat. And even with what happened this past weekend, they're shorthanded. LAFC is shorthanded, and they still lost 2-0 at home. And you can see with the fan, that's the worst part. That's the part you don't like, because at least fans are still showing up. Even during the tough times, even they came to boo Peter or it came to boo whoever, they were still pulling up and doing that. And to see even the Cauldron not packed as much as it is anymore, that's what's going to hurt the most. I think that's the biggest thing that Sporting's really going to start looking at the on-field product and say, because you can't have this in our. We're not even April yet. We're not even went to St. Louis yet. St. Louis is going to look crazy, and they're going to be packed out, and we don't want to see them come here because they're going to pack out the stadium. So they got a lot to figure out, especially on the defense, because I'm still worried about the defense. I think that's the thing I'm worried about the most, even though we're not scoring goals. I get that because we got new people coming in, but some of these people we still had before, and we're still letting in the same goals. That's what I'm worried about the most.
Yeah, I think he's talked multiple times about needing to add new players, and that we have multiple transactions coming up. I think a lot of those are going to be focused on the defense, because the mix we have out there with Leibold and Fuldair, and it's just not coming together.
I guess if you want to take one bit of positivity on how the season could turn around, again, this is coming from somebody who watches very little soccer. So you guys feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I am strictly looking at statistics and metrics right now. Half the league is bad at defense. So
sure.
I guess, there's I think 6 teams with a negative run differential or goal differential. Just about, they're still middle of the pack in goals scored. So I guess if anything you want to take away is that there's a good chunk of the league is also struggling to start the year off defensively. So like I said, it can't get any worse. You should only be able to go up from here. I know we talked about 2 weeks ago, it's building continuity as a team and building some consistency and getting that confidence back. And if they can do that, then it's still early enough to turn this around. But my gosh, if what's happening behind you there in your backdrop, winning's contagious. Losing is also contagious. If you don't put forth a product that's worth going to, the fan base isn't going to show up. But the fan base, we know, Sporting KC fans, when they do show up, they're rough, they're rowdy, they're going to be screaming. And if you put something on the field that gets them excited about it, I think that will also breathe life back into the team. So you kind of need both there. But hey, the rest of the league, there's only about a handful of teams that are really looking the part so far. So I guess,
and let's not forget, there's a new GM now. So it's not just Peter, I'm running everything. There's somebody above Peter now that if he's looking at that crowd and seeing that, and ownership is like, okay, at some point we got to start looking at other things besides we've been looking at this, we're looking at this. I hate to say that because I love Peter as a person. I love what he does as a coach and what he's done for Sporting KC, but at some point when you're looking at that, that's not going to be a good look. That's not a good look at all for a franchise that other franchises look up to or look at to see that type of crowd. And we're not even in April yet. That's not good at all if fans are already checking out.
Do you guys think he's
Maybe.
kind of reaching the point that Dayton Moore was getting to at the end of his tenure, where it's like, hey, you will never take away what he's done, but you can also go, yeah, but what have you done for me lately? Is it time for?
Yeah.
I mean, I get this conversation's happened for several years now, but I just kind of wonder if he's starting to get to that point where the fan base is going to start to split and say, hey, we appreciate everything you've done for me, but we got to win.
I think
you're not doing it.
I think one of the things that helped is those cup finals as far as going to the U.S. Open Cup, playing against LAFC this past year, is trying to get there. And then the other year, what was that, Sacramento? Is that who they played? I can't remember who they played.
Yeah, and then 2
years
ago, deep into the playoffs, including knocking out St. Louis.
Yeah.
That was kind of the breakout for Logan Ndebe and Jake Davis. And Ndebe doesn't blow out his knee. I think they win the next round because that was the best they've played in the last couple of years. So even in these down seasons, I mean, they advanced deep into the playoffs 2 years ago, and they made it to the finals in one of the two competitions that they compete for. So, I mean, it's a little bit of the same curse of high expectations that KU faces, because there's plenty of teams in MLS that have never made it to the U.S. Open Cup final or advanced as deep into the playoffs as Sporting did. So even in the down years, they still had some glimmers, had some gleams of hope. Let's hear what Mason Toy had to say. He's a new addition to the team, a new free agent signee. He got to make his debut towards the end of the game. And, you know, he's going to contribute more as he gets more acclimated. Here's what he had to say, really echoing some of the same points you made, Keegan.
Yeah, I mean, especially for guys that have been in the league for a while, myself included, you understand the beginning of the season, it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's not the most important part of the season. There's the good thing is that there's positives and things to build upon, and really the most important part of the season is really like July through October. So that's obviously not what we're focused on right now. We're focused on starting to get results. But again, a positive is that we're putting things together and the results will come, and we just got to stay patient and trust that there's a plan within our group and within our team, within our club. We've got to continue to trust that and build upon it, and the results will come.
Well, there's your take from Mason and how the team's going to pull together. What do you guys think of that?
I think he shouldn't wait till July. You don't want to be behind the 8 ball and be in last place right now at one point going into July. They got to string along some results. I think that's where he strengthening the defense to me comes in, because you might not win all the games, but at least get some draws. At least at least do that and start from there. Even if you can't win the game, don't lose the game, right? That'll keep you up there a little bit. Reminds me of what Manchester United has been doing lately, or some of these other teams like Juventus when I'm watching soccer, European soccer. Like, get those draws. You might not like the draws, but at least they're points, and you don't want to fall behind, because what happened last year was they fell so behind they couldn't catch up. And so that's why I don't really like the July comment. I see what he's saying. I'm just surprised, one, that he said it out loud right there. There must be something that Peter and the team must talk about in the locker room. But the other thing is, man, you don't want to be behind the 8 ball too early, because once again, trying to catch up. And how many spots are in the play? Is it 9? I can't remember if it's 9 again this year or not. But 9. But still, you don't want to be behind the 8 ball, because they need to be competing for the playoffs this year, even though they're trying to rebuild. You don't want to go out through that again and then have the more fans mad at you, and more decisions have to be made in the offseason or even coming to July, because if you're not looking good in July, you're going to be moving around and they're going to find other new players to come in when the transfer deadline comes in. So I think it might not be super urgent right now. See what he's saying, but eventually they got to start stringing results like quick, and hopefully starting this weekend against DC. I'm not DC United, but FC Dallas will help them out.
At least he didn't sound panicked. There wasn't much panic.
Not
a lot of confidence.
He's a veteran. You can tell he's a veteran, and he's talked to a lot of media, because that was really smooth. And I agree with Chris. I think he was echoing something that was said in the locker room. Because keep in mind, Sporting, MLS, and the NWSL, they present a couple of players at the podium each week. That's how their press conferences work. So it's not necessarily an accident that they present somebody out there and kind of know what they're going to say, you know. And he's super polished. That's the first time I've actually heard him talk, but he's good at it.
He's a good player too. I like him. Yeah,
trying to dismay.
Yeah, no, I like what he's doing, man. But if he's about to start getting clocked, where Willie at? I guess Willie might be out the door soon. That's what I keep hearing.
Yeah, supposedly he's a trade object. The biggest thing Willie's done this year is a chance where they could have had a tie, an easy chip and goal, and he blasted a 30-yard field goal. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but we'll see if they can get it pulling, because Mason is right. It is a really long season. It goes to November, but at some point you gotta start winning.
Yeah, I was thinking about that yesterday when you texted me. I was like, man, soccer just got started again. I feel like we were just talking about the end of the season like a month ago, but it's one of the longer professional seasons for sure.
No, you get like 2 months off, I think, and that's if you lose early.
Quick turnaround.
Yeah, it's go time fast. Let's go across the state line to CPKC Stadium, where the Current, while Sporting scuffling and feeling anxiety building, the Current, they're rolling. They're rising. The tide's rising. Haley Mace back playing, and she had a beautiful assist to Temwa. Temwa's 2 for 2 now, 2 games, 2 goals. Here's Haley talking about her assist to Temwa.
I feel like I hit those a lot in training, and so it was nice to like do it in a game and it like come out to a goal. Vlaco always tells me if I don't know where to hit it, just hit it diagonal to Temwa. So yeah.
So I mean, you see your difference though, because just look at the mood.
Yeah.
I mean, Haley Mace all happy, saying, "Oh yeah, just got to hit it in her direction.
Just kick it. She's down there somewhere."
Yeah, but there's a little bit more to it. They've played together now for
a lot of chemistry,
a season plus. Mm-hmm. Haley Mace knows where Tem was going to be. They ran last year, right around the international break. Vlaco let everybody stay and watch a whole practice, and they had kind of scuffled the week before. Well, they spent the whole practice just working on those diagonal outlet passes. Everybody was working on them. So it's something that they've spent hours drilling, because if we saw it for an hour, that means they probably did it for 5.
Yeah.
And they did it over and over and over again. And everybody's comfortable throwing those outlets. They just got 3 players elevated to the U.S. national team for the next series of games. Michelle Cooper and Claire Hutton are back, and Alana Cook makes her return to the U.S. national team. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything you look at, the stuff that Sporting's talking about needing to establish, they have. They have the chemistry. They have the explosive offensive players. I mean, you're seeing Michelle Cooper, I think, come into her own as a superstar player to go along with Temwa. I mean, and we didn't even talk about, they added Lorena, maybe the best goalkeeper in the world in the women's game. I mean, it's the exact opposite, and you can turn
night
it
and
around
day difference,
because they turned it around last year.
Yeah. No, I love what they're doing out there right now, and I love what they're doing front to back. I think that's one of the differences with them and what's going on with Sporting KC, because not only they got the good offense going, their defense is set up straight, especially with Cook back there now. Being back there, and Lorena, like you said, being in the goal. So I love what they're doing. And one thing I do like about them too, there's no panic. Like, you see, the vibes are good right now. So even like when I was watching the game and Trendy Rodman comes in automatically and like feels like right as she got on the game, she scored a goal, but they called it a foul or offsides. I can't remember which one was offsides or a foul that was called on that goal. Yeah, I couldn't remember what happened, but just off of that, there was no, okay, we're good, we're still good, and once, like you say, to get the outlet to Tim Wynn, she scores, and boom, game over. So I love the confidence that they have with her in KC. They know they can win. I think that's a big thing as well. Yes. They got the confidence because they've seen it, and I'm sure they're hungry. That's the other thing too, because I'm sure they left the bad taste in their mouth how they finished last year, especially against Orlando. losing to them twice towards the end of the year. So I think they're motivated. I think they're going to only get better too, because like you said, we're mentioning young players. We're not talking about older players that's out there playing for them. We're talking about younger players that's showing what they can do, and we're deep. The current is deep as well. They can bring players out the bench like Michelle Prince when they bring her like for like, when they bring Michelle off and bring Michelle Prince in, or they're bringing in some of the other midfield players. So I love how current is set up, and I think they're going to be set up for another great run this year.
Oh yeah, Bia hasn't even played a game yet.
Yeah.
She's one of the best players in the world. So
it's right. And then where you put her in, because everybody's looking so good right now, does she walk right back into the starting lineup? You know, that's great.
Let her take her time.
Yeah, take her time. Exactly. That's what allows her to take her time. You're right on that. Plenty of, as what Keegan said, there's going to be plenty of soccer season ahead.
Yeah. And now, Keegan, with that, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. They've been making news, more active in free agency than we thought they would be. Charles Omenihu coming back. His body move. Double, former first-round pick, Jerry Tillery on the D-line, and big Mike Pennell back to basically play the role of Derek Nottie. Do you like what the Chiefs have done? Do you feel we're in a good position now that you can go into the draft and just take whoever the best player is and feel confident that you're not drafting for need like we did last year with Kingsley?
100%. A lot of these moves are low risk, high reward. Tillery's had a kind of up and down career. And if you're coming into a championship pedigree team and you've got a guy next to you in Chris Jones who's done that for several years, and you got a guy who like Omenihu who's been here for a year now and has seen it done. You've got the best defensive coordinator in football. I like the moves on the defensive side. Christian Fulton, I think, is going to be fantastic in this system.
Yeah.
You don't have to panic. I mean, I think coming into the offseason, nationally speaking, I think there were a lot more people going, oh my gosh, the Chiefs are going to have to get rid of this and that. And what are they going to do? Look at the rest of the NFL. The rest of the NFL panics and overspends and overtrades and all that. Sure, we took a reach on Kingsley last year. It didn't work out. It may potentially have cost us a Super Bowl. Sure, I get it. But the way this team is structured, there's no panic. Veach knows what he likes. Andy Reid knows what he wants. The defensive moves so far have been good enough that you don't have to reach for anything in the first round there. You could take best available, whether it's a wide receiver, another defensive lineman. Heck, wouldn't be shocked if they traded back as well, because there's not a glaring need that you have to go up and get. I think, with Jalen Moore, you get a guy that could be serviceable as a left tackle. He might not even be what we had several years ago.
He should be Donovan Mitchell.
But should be a Donovan Smith level for sure. But I like the move so far. I feel pretty good with it. I think that's going to make the draft very interesting because there's like 4 or 5 wide receivers that would be so much fun to have. There's about 3 or 4 pass rushers, defensive tackles that would still be a good add. And if they slide back and get another mid-round pick, this is a pretty deep draft as over the next 3-4 weeks, as a lot of podcasts and sports and analysts out there start giving you their takes on the draft. There's a lot of positions that are very deep this go around, which I think is great for Veach because we know he finds gems. He finds guys that he can get in the 5th, 6th, 7th round and turn them into stud starters almost instantly. So you feel pretty good. Nothing crazy. They haven't overspent on anything. They still have some cap space to work with. Obviously they pushed a few of those contracts down for another year, but of all the teams in the offseason right now, the Chiefs have a very good situation heading into the draft. There's a lot of teams that still have major needs and teams that have been cutting salary left and right that are going to be worse. And because of that, now have major holes. So you got to feel pretty good with where they are, and that there's not a lot of holes that have to be plugged immediately and that you have to reach for in this draft.
Yeah, I agree. And Chris, I think something else that we're going to get out of this is Patrick Mahomes is going to be super motivated to dial in and maybe take Cooper DeJong's statement that we made him play quarterback and make that the bulletin board that motivates him through a whole offseason of crazy workouts, just becoming a even more accurate pocket passer. and maybe we make some subtle changes to the offense, get somebody in the slot, get a running back that can catch a lot of ball, which Elijah Mitchell can if he's healthy. And I think we see a better version of Patrick Mahomes this year.
You think he got one of those dummies out there with a picture of Cooper DeJean on there? Like when he started passing in the backyard or something?
I'll say this. If you want a long-term future play on something, it is voter recency bias might hurt him. But Patrick Mahomes is plus 800 for MVP next year. And you're talking about a team and a player that's going to be motivated. All the pressure next year is on Lamar Jackson. He's got all the pressure in the world. Josh Allen's got all the pressure in the world, even though he won an MVP, but they haven't been able to do it in the playoffs. And of course, Joe Burrow's going to have all the pressure.
Yeah.
I don't think the Chiefs really have any pressure. They've won a couple Super Bowls. They lost this last one, of course, and it looked bad. But I think the NFL is going to kind of shift away from, the Chiefs are the darling. They're going to fall in love with these other teams. So I think Patrick Mahomes could come out this next year and really prove that he's still the top dog. Not that he needs to, but I like that at plus 800. Obviously, biased Chiefs fan here saying this, but plus 800 as an MVP candidate coming off of a disappointing season. The season ends. You're darn right. He's going to be super motivated, and I think the Chiefs as a whole want to get rid of that loss as quickly as possible and come back out next year and tell the rest of the NFL that AFC still runs through Arrowhead.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm sure they do. Well, hey, let's wind it down here on Spotlight on Kansas City Sports on Sports TV Plus. You can watch us on True TV Plus, on every TCL TV. Just hit the plus button on Sports.tv, on Carbon TV, and Keegan in the Baltimore, Maryland area on cable. Watchy, we're on there. So everybody in Maryland watching a deep dive into Kansas City sports. Thanks for watching.
Including you, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. And they need to send us some crab cakes too. Let's go to our weekly champions from one of the stars of TNA wrestling, Ash by Elegance.
Hey guys, it's your girl Ash by Elegance, and you're watching me on Wrestling Spotlight.
Got the Wrestling Spotlight Television Championship belt here. Keegan, who's your champion of the week?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little different on this week. More want to just take a moment to recognize and honor Kansas legend Bob Davis, who passed away this past week. One of the best in the business. Was at Kansas a long time doing every sport. Passed away last week. It's a guy that I can think of so many calls growing up as a kid, and even up until when he retired, just thinking there's so many big KC sports moments in my life that are synonymous with hearing Bob Davis's voice. So shout out to Bob Davis, thinking about him and his family. His son, Steven, is following in his footsteps, and it is tremendous with KU women's basketball. And I think he's got a lot of opportunity ahead of him. So just want to take a second to thank the Davis family as a whole, and make sure that Bob gets honor for that, because he lived a tremendous life, lost his wife the week before. So you're very, very sad for the family. But a guy that's going to go down as one of the all-time greats, not just in Kansas broadcasting, but just sports broadcasting in general.
Longtime Royals announcer too.
Yeah,
good. Like that one.
Yeah,
Chris.
Yeah, good shout, because I grew up on Bob in Wichita when they showed Royals games down there, and it was him and Split. So that's what I grew up on when I that put Royals. So good shout on that. My champion of the week is Tamara Poindexter. K-State women getting that win against Kentucky, and they're going to the Sweet 16, first time I think since 2001, 2002, somewhere around there. So it's been a long time since we've been in the Sweet 16. I was worried because I said our reward is getting to play Juju Watkins USC for making the Sweet 16, but unfortunately she's for ACL, and I hate to hear that because she's one of my favorite players in basketball, period, not just women's basketball. So I hate to see that, but very proud of the K-State women for making the Sweet 16. Shout out to Poindexter. You talking about a bright future ahead. K-State women's basketball, bright future coming up with her and some of the youngins that's still in the team, and who people still coming through the program. So shout out to her and shout out to the team.
Like that. Last local team standing. And I'm going to go with, because I was actually struck by Bill Self's take there, talking about, I've talked with them every day for 10 years. They're like my sons. I mean, I think there's something wholesome and pure with that we've really lost in college basketball in the NIL era and the transfer era. So I'm going to go to Dewan and KJ because, man, they were part of a team that brought a national championship here, and they definitely represented KU with pride and with honor. And I believe they'll both end up playing professionally at some level. I think KJ ends up playing in Europe after a year of rehabbing, and
Sure,
KJ
he might be
did a lot of heat this
touchdowns
year, so I'll give him a champion of the week. And I also want to mention, in the spirit of Bob Davis, longtime executive producer of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network, Dan Israel, also passed away this week. Long battles, very public with cancer. Had gone into remission, came back, and easily one of the best radio networks in sports, going way back to when I was doing morning drive radio in Cleveland. I would do the Cleveland Browns reports on 101 The Fox, and actually was part of the small part of the Kansas City Chiefs pregame show and postgame show on the Fox. So definitely sorry for the loss, and easily one of the best local sports producers ever, Dan Israel. So, sad week for Kansas sports with Bob Davis and Dan Israel both passing away. So guys, we'll wrap it up on that. And I'm sure they'll both be looking forward to huge years from the Royals, the Jayhawks, and the Chiefs moving forward. So all the teams have a little extra motivation to play for coming up this season. Keegan, where can people find you and Christopher on the Kansas City Sports Authorities?
Yep, KC Sports Authority. You can find our podcast over on YouTube. You can also listen to us on the go on Spotify. Hit us up on Twitter as well at KCSA Pod. This time of year, there's still a lot to get into. We'll have a lot of KU basketball offseason talk, of course, Chiefs offseason, NFL draft talk, and then Chris, who's super excited for baseball season. We'll be doing a lot of Royals baseball content this year, especially in a year that has a lot of expectations. So always plenty going on in the world of sports.
Oh, absolutely. And Chris, plenty going on in the world of music as well. And if people are driving down the streets in Kansas City on the way home, they can tune into Hot 103 Jams. When can they listen to you on the station?
Oh, they can listen to me 3 to 7 Monday through Thursday, 3 to 6 on Friday, celebrating 75 years, giving away $1,000 in cold cash this Friday too. So that's big things right there. So shout out to everybody who's been listening. Yeah, and also don't forget, I got a podcast with my brother Stimpson Ain't Easy. Wherever you get your good podcast, make sure you check me and my brothers out, ranking things, and you just never know what we talk about. I think last week we talked about some Tony songs. We ranked some Houston for Bun B's birthday. We talked about Houston sports stars. So yeah, check us out wherever you get your good podcasts.
There you go. Tony has done it again. And Hot 103 Jams. Don't forget to slam the Z.
That's right.
And stay tuned for more sports and entertainment right here on Sports TV Plus. Thanks for watching. Download that True TV Plus app too, so you can take it with you anywhere you go. Have a great night. We'll see you back here next week.